Welcome to the show. Hi, I'm Randy Jeffers, and we are live from the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, we have a special guest, Mr. David Barnes from Faya Designs. Well, let's start there because Faya is a pretty interesting name. How'd you come about that?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show, Randy.
Absolutely.
Glad to be here.
Oh, thanks for being here.
Faya it's sort of where I'm at in my life. I'm on fire. I want everybody to know that I'm in motion. There's a lot of energy here. Things are going to happen. Results happen. So I'm on fire.
And this is Faya, Faya.
Yes, with an exclamation point at the end.
Oh, very cool. So how'd you think about that? Just
there was a comedian back in the day. He was on one of the first reality TV shows, Last Comic Standing, and he had a bit of a routine, and I don't want to steal it or anything, but the gist of it was he asked his mother what's for dinner, and she says it's fire. And he asked her what's for dessert, and she says lava. And it's just about how hot their food is and all that. But his energy, the way he said it, was just like, ugh. And I want people to know when they talk about me, I'm on fire.
Oh, I love it. Very, very cool name. So Faya Designs. Now tell us about that. Sounds like you're maybe an architect.
Exactly.
Designer.
Well, I've been in the architectural field pretty much my entire adult life. When the economic downturn came around, I retooled. I got some new education, self-education, all kinds of different things. I tried my hand at some real estate. Did fairly okay, but it was a really, really tough time. So, everybody took their licks.
Yeah.
But coming out of it, I decided that I wanted to do something big. And my entire life, I'd always thought about, when I got into architecture, my main interest was residential architecture because of Frank Lloyd Wright. Okay,
Yeah.
He was my inspiration. The level of detail that he went into in his homes was amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
and I
Way
wanted
before its time.
yeah, way before its time. And now I want to bring that level of detail forward into time and put the technology that we currently have, the resource management systems that we should be having in our homes. Okay, alternative energy solutions that we should be having in our homes, water reclamation systems, water gathering systems, just everything that's out there. I mean, you go on the internet and it's just chock full of, look at this video of this great new gadget.
Yeah.
And I want to collect all of those. I want to collect amazing designers. I've worked with some of the most amazing people on the planet. Joel Bergman, okay, TJ Schumann, okay. Massive projects. The Cosmopolitan Hotel, I was project manager on that when it began.
Wow.
And
that's a pretty cool place. Yeah.
yeah, I love it. I mean, it's the crown jewel in my resume. But now I'm moving forward. I want to do something even bigger and better than that. Not necessarily bigger physically, but bigger on a scope. I want to start to address the issues that threaten the planet. And it's about energy management and energy and resource management. If we properly manage all of our resources, the oceans will come back, the temperatures will start to calm down, okay, but we're not building that way, okay? And what I want to do with my designs, a very limited edition of 12 homes, I want to take all that technology, put it all together, put it in a beautiful package that people will recognize, and then be able to take that technology and disseminate it throughout the world so that we can get a handle on the situation before it's too late.
So you're doing a series of 12 homes, a dozen homes, and you're doing them all at once or one after each other?
They're going to be one after the other, but in
a little crossover.
yeah,
kind of.
in mega project experience, you have one project that overlaps the next project. So you get one out of design and it gets into construction. You kind of turn it over to the contractors. And you just kind of babysit it a little bit, and you got on-site people. So on my level, ultra high, billion-dollar project management. You just kind of finesse it a lot. You trust your teams. You build really, really great teams, and you trust in them to get their jobs done. And so what I'm planning on doing is over the next decade, do the 12 homes. So the next 10 to 12 years, at least one a year coming off the assembly line.
Now you mentioned $1 billion. What each of these 12 homes, what do you think the average price is going to be?
Well, I would like to start out at about $100 million.
Wow, that's
One
a lot
of
for a
the
house.
one of the most the highest priced home that I have seen posted anywhere was in California in the Hollywood Hills, I believe, and it was $250 million, chock full of goodies. It had staff already hired for the next 2 years, cars, luxury items, everything turnkey. That's the concept that I'm getting at. So Frank Lloyd Wright, that level of design, your closet full of clothes, car, 7-car garage with 7 supercars, a yacht that's attached to the house. So in that range, we're talking starting at about 100 million, going 200 million, 300 million, 400 million. Sky's the limit. Who wants to play?
Yeah. Well, Frank Lloyd Wright, as you know, was very interesting, and I know one of the things I've been in a number of homes that were designed by him, but one of the things he did was he used horizontal lines in it, like with his brickwork, for instance. He the masons would do the what do you call the grouting that goes in between. He would do that differently. He would do that differently, right? He would run it all the way so it had a long look to it. Yeah. What's going to be your characteristics you're going to incorporate?
My signature is going to be that I'm going to stretch the imagination. I've really seen some amazing vistas and landscapes throughout my life, either in movies or in photographs. You see them around, and you get this, wanderlust, or you're like, I would love to go there and see that view, and just and then I go a step further. I'd love to build a house right there in that little spot, and the house would look like this. And then I've been playing with those ideas for about 30 years now. I never really put them down on paper because it just constantly evolves. It just keeps changing, and I don't want to waste the effort drawing something that I know is not going to be built. When it's there, the energy, the creative energy that comes out of you when you have a site and you know what the views are, and you've talked to your client and you know what their interests are, and you're sitting there going, okay, I want to make my client so happy. I want them to feel like every cent that they ever spent they would triple it and they'd be happy. Okay, that's what I want every client to feel like. Okay, so I've been a study of human psychology my entire life, and I can read a person. I can understand how a person works, and with the technology that I'm bringing together, I've got wellness, health, and longevity technology. I've got renewable resources. I've got robotics. I've got automation. AI if you want it. If you're afraid of the AI, we'll just have a super smart home. So. It'll be prepped for anything. Let's say something terrible happens in the world and there's economic collapse or something. You could hole up there and just be your own little, your whole own little nation if you wanted to, and just live forever, because the house is completely sustainable.
So walk us through the steps that it would take. Let's say I had a piece of property and I called you up and I said, David, listen, I want to build something really spectacular on this piece of property.
That's
what do
easy.
I do next?
That's easy. We go, fly me out to the property. I go and I look at it, and I get a feel for it, because there's nothing like standing and walking a piece of land and knowing what's there and getting the energy. Literally,
let me stop you right there, because now we're going to assume that most of these properties, if they're going to be that spectacular, are going to be a little bit remote.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would imagine that they would be on an island or on a side of a mountain or on the top of a mountain or in the middle of the desert somewhere where somebody has been or seen, and it moves them. They sit there and they look at the vista and go, I want to be buried right here. Or I want to wake up every morning and see this view.
Yeah.
That's what I want to present to them. So that would be the view outside of their master bedroom window, which would be an entire wall. So they get that view. Sun hits the thing, boom, they wake up, boom, there's your view.
Wow. Okay, so we get you out there, you take a look, and what's the next
So get me out there, take a look, you tell me what your budget is. Okay, I can always work with the budget, but like I said, I want to start at 100 million, go to 200, 300, 400. I'm only doing 12, and they're going to be signature. Every single aspect of this home, every single room, there will be an expert in that field that is helping me, giving me their expert opinions on exactly how to build that room. Okay, chefs, gourmet chefs. Brian David Scott he's my partner. I love the guy. He has amazing talent, and he's shown me what true cooking is. Okay, yeah. I don't even get me near a kitchen, but what he does with food is amazing. So I want that kind of experience built into every room. So the wardrobes, they're going to have, dial up your wardrobe. Everything's going to be cataloged, matching sets. It'll just pull all the pieces together. You just put it on, and then you'll have a video conference with a stylist to sit there and go, yes, you look good for the Oscars. Go ahead and go.
So, wow, interesting. So what types of things are kind of ahead of the curve right now? Things that if you had enough money you could do, but it's just not widely known by most of us.
Well, I mean, people think that the more luxurious and the bigger a home is, your carbon footprint is just going to blow you out of the water, and that's not necessarily true. The materials that we have nowadays, the way that we can transport things, the fact that we can build them in a warehouse, put them in a crate, and then flat ship them somewhere and then assemble them. Okay, technology like that is amazing. Or building it locally with local materials, locally sourced, which is really what I want to go at. But obviously, when you're talking about super luxury, you're getting materials from everywhere around the world. To offset that, I want to be able to control the supply of all this stuff. So as I start to design 2 and 3 homes out, I will know logistically I'm getting 3 loads of marble from Italy and 4 loads from China and this from there and that from there. So, okay, that logistically speaking, that's what I'm talking about, energy management, resource management, okay? We've got all the technology, all the computers, I mean, Watson, all this stuff, amazing technology. Let's really start applying it to the problems, okay? Not the symptoms of the problems. That's what we try and fix the symptoms of the problems instead of actually fixing the core problems. So I think that if we don't look at energy management, food resources, and all that stuff, and we don't figure out how each person can supply most of their own resources at the point of need, we're going to burn this planet out. And the planet will survive because guess what? It'll just recycle itself. It always has. Okay, and we just won't be part of that.
So what do you do because obviously you're an artistic guy and you have your own ideas about what should be, but what if you have a client who has their own ideas and maybe they become at odds with what you're thinking? What happens?
Yeah, when you've worked on the kind of projects that I've worked on, the clients definitely have opinions, and well-moneyed people definitely want their opinions heard, and I respect that. But as a professional, when you hire a professional, any entrepreneur knows this. You set up a business, you have an idea, but you're not going to run that business. You're going to find an expert that can really do that business, okay? And you're going to get him going, okay? And I do it with my teams. I hire 10, 15, 20 different consultants, and they're the best, and I let them do their job. I don't tell them how to do their job. I tell them what the goal is, okay? So I work with my clients in that manner. I get their input, I get their feedback, but I read them too. And then I give them something artistic. These homes aren't just homes, okay? They will be artistic works of wonder, okay? They will be considered the 12 works of wonder, in the world. I'm going to create the most amazing homes. The very last one I would like to be for Elon Musk or Richard Branson on Mars, okay? Elon says he wants to go to Mars. We're going to have habitats there. If Elon's on Mars, he's going to need a home there. I want to be his designer, okay? If he's going to get us there, I want to go on it. Okay, always wanted to be in space. Big, huge sci-fi fan. So I look to science fiction for my ideas. If it's in science fiction, it's on its way. Okay, Jules Verne, everything he ever wrote about, true. Leonardo da Vinci, all his inventions, they've come to pass. Okay, so we invent things. We're creative. Okay, we now have the technology to implement all of those ideas. Any idea that you can come up with, hey, 3D print it. There we go.
So obviously it takes a lot of money to do this kind of a house, and not all of us have that same ability, right?
Yeah,
we don't have that money just sitting around. For more regular people, what can you do for them?
Well, the reality of this is that there is a larger end game to this. I'm trying to do this so that I can gather together all the technology and all the resources and get it all figured out, okay? Work out all the bugs, and then miniaturize it or downscale it, okay, and make it for the popular man, for the common man. Just make it available to KV, Lenard, Pulte, any home builder in any country, anywhere. Here's the technology. Here's eco-friendly in a box, okay? Boom, you attach this water purifier and this water collector and this solar panel system, and you're good to go. Any house, and it's a package deal. It's $15,000, $12,000, whatever it happens to be, because I'm making them for billions of people, okay? Everybody's going to want these things. Now, people they'll reverse engineer it. Great, awesome. I probably wouldn't even try and enforce a patent on that kind of stuff, okay? That's the kind of stuff that the world needs. Tesla rarely enforced his stuff. I mean, he people stole his stuff left and right. Okay, he was on to the next great idea, trying to build the
Stole his
next
name,
big thing.
right?
Exactly. But I think that's an homage. I mean, it really is an homage. That Elon Musk is doing things for the world that the world won't do for itself. He's just out there and said, look, this is a problem, and I don't want my children's children to suffer. So I'm going to go ahead and do something. I'm going to man up. Okay? And if all the super wealthy do this, okay, if I get 12 super wealthy people to sit there and buy in, okay, and help me on this vision, okay, by the end of it, we would have all the tools necessary and the programs and structures in place to sit there and put it out through the entire world so that we can stop global warming, okay, stop overpopulation, stop food shortages. If we don't do something soon, the ocean will collapse on itself, okay, and you're going to be sitting going, where's fishy, 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 okay, and then it'll come back after a mass human die-off. And I don't want to see that happen.
Absolutely. Well, I want to ask you a question about the oceans, but before we do that, let's do a little quick commercial for your company. And so if somebody out there is watching you right now and they sort of catch your vision and they want to be a part of something you're doing, how do they get a hold of you? Do you have a website?
I do. I'm about to retool it because I'm doing a complete rebranding. I've gotten some new contacts and things are starting to kick off. So I'm really, taking everything that I've done was self-done. I'm a bootstrap entrepreneur, but my website is www.fayadesigns.com. So fayadesigns.com.
Faya, Faya, Faya.
Faya.
I love that. Very good. All right. Well, let's. I want to ask you about oceans because I've always been intrigued by things that are built underwater.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's some hotels that are built underwater. There's some homes built underwater. And is one of those 12 going to be an underwater home?
Absolutely. So, of these 12 homes, they're all conceptual.
Right.
So, like hanging off the side of a cliff, spanning in between a chasm. I've got one that is basically there are sea arches all over the coastal parts of the world, and I want to carve into and build onto the outside of a sea arch. And I want to use sea caves and under the water, and I want to integrate each home with its environment. Okay, the Anasazi Indians built in the side of a cliff that was properly orientated so that the interior temperature of their dwellings was about 72, 75 degrees pretty much all year round.
Wow.
In a place where you get 30 degree, 20 degree winters, and you get 115 degree summers. Okay, they knew what they were doing. Okay, and we no longer do that. We don't build in with the land, we just build on top of it. We don't even build basements anymore on the West Coast. Right. Okay, it's ridiculous. I mean, just building a basement, the energy efficiency of using that cooled down air within your structure is amazing. The ancient Egyptians, all of their monumental structures are built so that on the interiors, they're pretty cool. They're nice and dim and dark and cool. They nice and comfortable. That's 5,000-year-old technology, and we just threw it out the window as soon as we had electricity and refrigeration. Hey, it's cheap. And then what happens? 50 years later, we're sitting there going, how do you get this thermostat to go down? And we're worried about it. So, we need to. The statistic is 60% of all greenhouse effect is caused by temperature control management of buildings. Okay? And if you think about it, here in Vegas, it's 110 degrees out in a nice hot July summer day. Okay? And inside the casino, it's 60 degrees. That's 50 degrees change. Where does that 50 degrees in all the cubic volume of air, where does it go? It goes outside. So you're adding 50 degrees worth of heat you remove through refrigeration and you're putting it outside using a machine that creates heat.
Interesting.
And you've blanketed over the ground that would absorb heat with something that reflects heat. So we got some problems. But we have solutions. Rooftop gardens, okay? Cooling towers, okay? There's all kinds of different systems that, if implemented correctly with the structures, would make them much more user-friendly. Dubai is on cutting edge with that. I mean, they're building in the middle of the desert, and they have these huge indoor structures Okay,
Yeah.
and they're not just sitting there just pumping everything out. They're starting to look at these technologies because they want to be. They don't want to destroy their country. Like we, I mean, love canal. I mean, how many times have we ruined places just because of greed? You know, we need to start thinking about humanity and thinking about, okay, I've made enough money. Now I need to start doing something useful to it with it.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, obviously, you've seen a lot of properties and done a lot of research and looking around. What if you could pick one place? What's the most impressive residential home that you've seen?
Uh, that's just too hard to say. I mean, there are a lot of homes that are just beautiful. Adelson's new home is pretty impressive right now. I mean, as far as anything in Las Vegas, that's probably the biggest, most luxurious.
Sheldon Adelson owns the Venetian.
Yeah, absolutely, and I believe the price tag on that was in the $60 million range. You know, so at $100 million, I'm not out of the ballpark. You know, seriously, I'm just taking it up to the next step and then moving from there going forward. But you know, I think I'd entertain something as small as maybe $25 million. You know, if it was a smaller property in a reasonable location that wasn't too far out of the way. I mean, like an island in the Bay of Thailand. That's not too hard to get to. It's right there next to, you know, major airports. But in the middle of the jungle in Africa, okay, you know, a little bit harder, right?
Right.
So
That's interesting. So these properties, these 12 properties, are going to start. When can we expect to see some of them?
well, right now, I'm basically I've built my team. I have all my team of experts right at hand. Okay, I'm building my marketing, and like I said, I'm rebranding everything, getting it all 100% dialed in and up to speed. I've been working with Tim Kushner, and he's been helping me out quite a bit. He's introduced me to quite a few people, and now moving forward, I think I've got the proper platform to be able to reach the audience that I want to reach. You know, which is basically, you know, celebrities, high net worth people, people who are influencers. You know, Richard Branson is. I'm a huge fan of Richard Branson and Elon Musk. Okay, Mark Cuban. Okay, because what they've done. Okay, they're you know, they've created these empires, and it's not like they're just sitting there getting richer and richer and richer. They're trying to make changes, do things. You know, I saw a tweet or a post or something, and somebody was saying, you know, why is Elon Musk spending his money on, or one of these guys spending their money on trying to, you know, launch rocket ships? And it's like, well, because if we don't get some kind of resources that aren't on this planet, we will use up what's on this planet at some point. So you have to keep moving forward. And so it's useful stuff, but some people don't understand why it's useful, you know, and we've got to start taking on those challenges. You know, JFK, you know, another, you know, person that I respect and I admire, you know, he said he put us on the path to reach the moon because he knew it would galvanize the American public and get them all working together towards a common goal, and it would improve not only the economy but the American living standards, everything. You know, he knew that it would make America stronger. I think that should be the goal of the American government, is give us the goals, give us the tax incentives and breaks and resources and agreements with foreign countries that we need to achieve those goals, but don't sit there and micromanage everything and give everybody a handout. Make people work for what they deserve. I actually made a mistake with my child. I spoiled him. He doesn't respect anything, and I made that huge mistake. I would totally raise any child differently. Okay, I learned from my mistake. Our government doesn't learn from its mistakes. It just keeps doing the same things over and over and over again. We need to take it for the people, by the people. Okay, it's not that way anymore. It's for the special interests, and you know, I don't want to put a target on my back or anything, but we need to change, or you know, only the rich will be alive after everything happens, because, you know, I don't mean to be a bummer or anything, but that is the fact. You know, we are facing some tough choices if we don't do things differently. So, and I'm all about learning from my mistakes. You know, I've got a rule. By the third time I've done something, I better have it pretty much mastered. I can tweak it after that, but if I haven't figured it out by the third try, I need to get somebody who's an expert, because I am not getting this. So.
Well, interesting. So, you're going to build these homes, but somebody has to pay for them. How do you go about convincing someone that they should hire David Barnes? You know, that's a...
Well,
There's a lot of people out there
Oh
competing,
yeah,
right?
absolutely, yeah. As former project manager of the Cosmopolitan,
Uh-huh.
I worked on Caesar's Palace for a couple of years. I worked on as an original design team for Paris. I've worked on many large-scale luxury projects. Okay, and that's the big difference. If a home designer, even if they're doing 15, 20, $30 million homes, it's generally at the end of a cul-de-sac. The logistics are pretty easy. Maybe it's at the end of a dirt road. Okay, I'm talking about your helicoptering materials and that kind of stuff. That level of project management and logistics, management, few people have that skill. Okay, I definitely have worked on some of the top 1% of the projects in the world. Okay, so moving forward, I intend for my homes to remain in that top 1%. Everybody around me is an expert. Okay, I'm not hiring schmoes. Okay, because I know what you get when you don't pay for what you get what you pay for. Okay, and talent is worth it, every penny of it. But I also have a very unique thing that I'm not really going to get into, but it does have to do with cryptocurrency, and I'm pretty sure that I can create a way for these homes to pay for themselves with the proper celebrities. So I'm looking for the right celebrities. I'm in the rooms with them now. I'm having these conversations. At some point, somebody's going to go, I like that idea, and after that, it's just going to be the designs. We'll start selling the rest of them. So it'll, from there on, it'll just be an easy walk in the park.
Very interesting. Now the the Cosmopolitan Resort here in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
What was that like working on that project?
It was intense. It was pretty fast-paced. I was brought in pretty early, expressly to work on it, and they put me in charge of it, and they kind of pulled a fast one on me. There's a software system that was pretty much state-of-the-art. AutoCAD for decades. It was the software that almost every architect used, and Revit was a new 3D modeling kind of software that was coming out, and people were looking at it but not willing to make the commitment. And some large firms, that's a huge commitment. Millions of dollars worth of software, and so they were sitting there going, "Oh, where are we gonna go? AutoCAD or Revit on this project?" And I'm like, Revit, because I'm always about the new technology, because I learn it in seconds, minutes at most. I figure it all out. I start teaching people how to use it and maximize it. So I'm good with new technology. I was ready to go. And so they ended up having me take the drawings. The design development drawings they're passed around for years sometimes. And sometimes they get really messed up and unclean. And so I, as a project manager, anytime I take over a project, I go through it, just every single little dotted I, cross T. I want to make sure that it's legit, because I do not want this on my head. I know that I take full responsibility of my projects. Anything in there, I know it was my responsibility to make sure it got caught. So, there's systems you put in place to make sure that you're not looking at every little thing, but it's still my responsibility. So I drew it 6 million square feet from scratch, 240-story towers, 5 levels of underground parking, and 7 stories of podium on, I think it was 8 acres, which is a microscopic dot of a land for that much square footage. So I did that all in AutoCAD, and then right when I was about finished with it, they said, you know what, on second thought, let's go ahead and do it in Revit. So I had to go ahead and take that and use it to turn it into the Revit models, which was, it was worthwhile. It was a learning process that helped me really fine-tune my Revit skills pretty quickly. So, but it was worthwhile. But I hate doing redundant work. I'm cutting edge. I always want to be, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want to make a better wheel.
So when you build a structure like the Cosmo, it's 40 stories tall.
Yeah, the two towers.
How far down do you have to go for that to be stable?
See, Cosmo was unique. Well, I don't know how unique, but we had a unique solution to it. In New York, on the Manhattan, because of the position of it, the ground's not super stable there because the water's so close to it, right? Mm-hmm. So they used a technology for the Twin Towers that was called a slurry wall, and they had this machine that dug down into the ground like a 3-foot deep wall, about 10-foot wide sections, and it just ground up the ground and spit it out, and then as it retracted out, it poured in this slurry, and it made a bathtub Okay, so this big bucket, okay, it's called a boat footing. Okay, so basically it floats in whatever medium it is, dirt, mud, soggy mud, whatever, doesn't matter. It will float the foundation of that building, just like a ship would. Okay, so that's the way the foundations of the Twin Towers were, and we used the same technology. So we had this machine that drilled down, the 4 or 5 stories that it had to go down, and it built this wall, and then we excavated all the dirt out of it, and then built the structures, the floors as we came out of the ground, and then the 4 or 5 underground parking levels, and then out of the ground, and the towers went up.
So the lowest floor for parking, how far down do the footings and things go?
I'm not sure, but I would say that they're probably a good 60 or 70 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're huge. Caesar's Palace, they had it was like 3 days worth of concrete trucks, just one after the other after the other. It was like 2,000 or 3,000 trucks, just one after the other. They'd come in, dump, turn around, pull out, next one go for 3 days straight pouring the footings.
Wow.
Those things are probably still cooking.
Yeah, probably. Are there any? That's a fascinating building, the Cosmo. Are there any little secrets in there, that things that people wouldn't normally know about?
Yeah, here's one secret. If you have to exit from the pool deck, be advised that you've got about a 3-mile walk. Okay? Because the way that the stairs go down through the interior of the building, it's all in rated corridor systems. So once you go through that first door, you're in a protected system that will last 4 hours. The whole entire building can be raging in fire, and you be in this corridor for 4 hours, and it's not going to burn. Okay?
Wow.
That's the way we design buildings. That's, we've had some issues in this town, and we corrected it. We wrote the fire code. Okay, Vegas is pretty much, and New York, they've had some input too, but because of certain things that have happened in the past, we have learned. Okay, and we've done better. Okay, the building codes are much better. So, but these egress corridors just wind all the way through the innards. You're going down, across, it joins up with another one, over all the way across. You're going one side of the building to the other side of the building, to the other side of the building to take a stair down, to the other side of the building to take a stair down, because that's just the way that the floor plans were. The pool's up here. I've got concert space here. I got retail space here. I've got mechanical space over here. I've got this, that, the other thing. I got to find a path from this door in this 3D space to this door in this 3D space through this massive building and keep it all fire rated and all structurally sound. That's a trick.
If there was a fire and you were at the pool level, let's say, and you went into that corridor, but there's other people on other floors trying to get into there too.
Yeah, but the way that it works is every floor exits before. Okay, so the first floor is out the door before the second floor gets down to the first floor. The third floor gets down to the second floor when the second floor is out, going out the first floor. So all the corridors are rated. The widths are set by national standards. It's very, very aggressively, monitored and maintained, and that's probably one of the safest buildings in the world. I would venture to say, more modern buildings are probably more safer, but not much, because the standards that we used on that. I actually did the exited corridor. That was my thing that I'm sitting there on top of, making sure of, because it was one of the most complex aspects of the entire building. We had to make sure that's right. You're getting, 8, 9, 1,200 people off of a deck, 5 stories high, down to the street before, the building completely engulfed in fire, right? Now, generally speaking, that never happens, because with the fire sprinkler systems that we have nowadays, the system goes off, people start moving towards the exit, and it's already out, okay? So, as long as everything's done right and nobody messes with nothing.
Interesting. One of the things about the Strip, when I go down there, I'm always looking up. And some of the some of the buildings have these little, like, buildings in and of themselves at the top, way up high, right?
Yeah.
And I'm always curious as to what's up there. I mean, they make a cool house, for somebody.
Yeah.
That,
Well, ideally, when things start happening the way I like them to, I would like to have a penthouse at Cosmo, because, I mean, it's fitting, right?
Yeah.
I'm a single guy. I'd like to have it.
What's above there, up on the roof level? Are there any secret hidden rooms?
There's always little spaces and compartments and stuff. I was in Caesar's Palace. They found a bum living in one of the theaters one time up in the rigging. Okay, I was in Caesar's Palace,
Wow.
looking, measuring stuff because we were doing a renovation, and I found, a pillow and a blanket and a chair, and I guess, some dude was taking his 15-minute break back there or whatever. I don't know, but you know, so it was, there's interesting cubby holes all over these properties because they're so massive. It's like literally you could probably hide a small group of people in some of these buildings if you really were trying to hide out. So,
Wow.
but up on top of them, mostly it's mechanical stuff. It's a lot of air handling equipment, elevator equipment, and then rigging to wash the windows and that kind of stuff. So,
The other thing that always amazes me are the window washers, and I know some of that's automated now, right?
yeah, some of it, yeah,
But you still have sometimes you'll see guys hanging.
yeah,
And
it's dangerous.
My goodness, it's with the winds here. I mean,
Yeah.
it's incredible. Especially I don't know how tall are some of the tallest buildings in Vegas.
Well, Stratosphere's over 1,000 feet, and Fontainebleau, I'm not exactly sure on that, but I'm betting it's probably about 1,100, 1,200 feet at least. Okay,
Wow.
that's probably the biggest structure in town. Okay, but they're pretty massive. 40 stories, 10 feet per story, maybe 11, but average about 10. So that's 400 feet right there. So that's pretty substantial.
Yeah, I mean they are just huge. But to be up that high,
Yeah.
and to have to wash a window
Yeah.
outside.
Well, I mean, for like my technology, my homes, I'm going to have a full-time robotic staff that is designing robots to do all those things. Nobody wants to wash a window. A
Right.
maid doesn't want to wash a window.
Oh, well, unless they
And-
get paid a lot of money per hour, which those.
And
people
if you got a
probably do.
25,000 square foot home, how much glass do you think you have?
Yeah,
Okay.
probably a lot,
I need
yeah.
little robots like a Roomba. Okay,
Uh-huh.
stuck on the side of the window, just like they have on the aquariums and blah blah blah. So it's just do 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 do, and it just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, and then when it breaks, it sends out a signal, and another one starts up. Okay, so you just got to have the replacement robot.
Yeah.
And I even want those guys going back to a shop, getting fixed by another robot. So,
Very cool. Yeah, I remember when I was a little kid, which is many years ago.
it was a little while ago.
There was a place in California. I can't remember where it was. Probably the old 99 or wherever I-5 used to be.
Okay. Uh-huh.
One of those towns. But there was this property. It was next to where you gas up, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was an automated cleaning house.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
remember that place?
They over the decades they have, and even Microsoft did a House of the Future. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and over the decades they've always done the latest and greatest. This is the technology you can expect in your home in the next decade, right?
Yeah, right.
And I'm kind of going in that direction, but the reality is, I believe the statistic is that human knowledge doubles itself in half the time every cycle. Okay, so we're starting to get down to doubling it every few months, and then every weeks, and then I don't know if that's going to be able to.
There's got to be a limit to it.
There's
at
got to
some
be a
point.
limit, you would think, right?
You would think.
But if you think about all the computers and all the geeks out there on these computers doing all this research, I don't know. We got about 5 billion geeks out there banging away on these things. There's a lot of information happening here.
Yeah.
I would like to see the technology that I create disseminated to all the people of the world. Okay, even in like container homes. Okay,
Uh-huh.
you can take a container that comes offline. Okay, they're not usable for shipping stuff anymore. You got to patch them up a little bit. You retrofit them a little bit, but you upscale them and you turn them into little housing units for a family of 4. Okay,
Right.
put a solar panel and a wind turbine on it, and a water collector and a water filter on it. Okay, and a little hydroponics lab on it. Okay, and so now you have the home supplying all the water and all the energy for a family. Okay, so you'll see on water.org, I believe, Matt Damon's charity. He talks about third world nation women spend on average 6 hours a day gathering and cleaning, purifying water. Okay, let's call it 3 billion third world women. Okay, so 3 billion times 6 hours, 18 billion man hours. Let's cut that in half. Okay, well, let's cut it in third. It's 3 billion. What would you do with 3 billion man hours if you had a computer and solar panel and Wi-Fi for the village hooked up to satellite?
Yeah, you could do a lot. That's for sure.
There you go. Okay, now these people are doing what? R&D for a company? I don't know. How many geniuses are sitting in some field somewhere with no education available?
Right.
okay? But if you give them the internet, okay, now they can self-teach themselves. Why doesn't somebody come up with a program of these are all the things you need to be a successful human being, whether you're living in the woods or you're living in society. This is how you write a check. This is how you light a fire. This is how you purify water. This is how you open a bank account. Okay, all those things. It would be nice if somebody came up with something like that in this process. So,
Absolutely. Well, it's here, I guess, right? It's all in the internet. Everything is, I mean, just about anything you want to know is out there.
yeah, got to gather it together, organize it, put it out there in a reasonable package that somebody's going to buy off on, and start getting humanity taken care of. Because at this point, I want to put those people to work moving humanity forward instead of just surviving and using resources.
Well, that's a great, great dream. Well, once again, let's give you a little commercial. So, Faya, F-A-Y-A Designs with an S on the end. So, fayadesigns.com.
Yes.
And your contact info is there. Somebody can contact you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're sitting out there and you got a big chunk of money, maybe $100 million as a minimum, you want to build this fantastic house that's never been done before, you're the guy.
If you want to build the most technologically advanced and aesthetically pleasing home ever created, I'm your guy.
And so for that house, how many what's the capacity of the garage, for instance?
Oh, see, that's going to vary for every client, okay, and also the location. I mean, you're not going to need 7 supercars on an island, okay? You might need a super SUV and several of those on an island, depending on the terrain and that kind of stuff. But I'm going more towards, really cutting edge stuff. They've got 6-passenger drone ships. They've got little hovercraft. They've got all this stuff. I want to theme the entire home and all the vehicles and everything, like a coat of arms, like royalty of the old, a lord or a count or a baron. Okay, coat of arms, your house, you're sealed, everything matches, everything's just dialed into you and your family, your health, your longevity, your empire, building your empire so that you can do more good for humanity, hopefully.
Absolutely. Very exciting. So 5 years from now, what's your life going to be looking like?
Well, I'll be halfway through. I'll be traveling a lot, looking at probably new sites, checking on sites that are under construction. I'll be talking with people. I'll be doing a lot of charity work, okay?
Yeah.
I'm expecting to do a lot of good with the money that I create because I don't need a lot of money. I've lived very, very frugally over the years, and I can deal with that. I like luxury, okay, love it, okay, but it's not a necessity for me. So most of my money is going to go to good causes. I've got some very special people in my life that have made a difference to me, and I want to honor them and move forward with a lot of nonprofit stuff.
Well, we're just about out of time, but in the last minute here that we have left, what is the story behind this hat you have on?
This hat? Actually, my mother bought it for me. I took her to a Renaissance fair, and she's into history, and I am too. You have to know history so you don't repeat your mistakes. And so we were walking around, and there was one of the little vendors, and we saw a hat very much like this, and I think it was the same model. And I tried it on, and I took a picture, and it was really, literally the only hat that I ever felt like it really represented me and made me look good. And I went, I really want this hat. And they weren't willing to negotiate a little bit, so we were like, okay. We found it on the internet, and she bought it for me for a birthday present, and I've had it ever since. And it's kind of my signature piece, It's my style, so.
Yeah, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. Very cool.
Thank you very
cool.
Thank you very much.
Well, thanks so much, David. It's just great having you on here. This hour just went really fast.
Yeah,
but,
it was amazing. Thank you very much for having me.
Listen, when we have when we have that first house built, listen, I want to come and have you back on, and maybe we'll go do a remote broadcast. And
that would be amazing. I'd love to do that.
Yeah,
you're my first ever official interview.
My goodness. Well,
so I'm
all right.
honored.
Just don't want to be the last, right?
No, you're the first of many, many, many.
Well,
so.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you
and
very
we'll
much.
see you next week, same time, same station. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.